I never imagined that camping on my own land would eventually send 12 people to federal prison. But that story began at 2 a.m. on a quiet Tuesday night. I was asleep inside my tent, right on the shoreline of property my family had owned since 1952, when blinding flashlights hit my face. Deputies ordered me out and demanded identification. Someone had called 911, reporting suspicious activity. I was confused, embarrassed, and stunned. This was my land. Once the officers checked the records, they apologized and left. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The call came from a woman across the lake who believed I was a dangerous squatter. She didn't care that my property existed decades before her neighborhood, before the HOA, before any of their rules. Even after law enforcement cleared me, the harassment continued. Threats, complaints, pressure. That's when I realized this wasn't about safety. It was about control. 6 months earlier, I was just Marcus Thompson, a retired Army Corps of Engineers veteran trying to adjust to civilian life after 20 years of service. When my grandfather passed away, he left me his cabin, a modest, hand-built log structure he constructed himself in 1952 on 5 pristine acres. It wasn't luxury. It was legacy. My grandfather was a local legend, a fishing guide for 40 years, a man who opened his beach to the entire community every 4th of July. Most importantly, he never backed down from bullies. In the 1980s, developers tried to buy the lakefront to build condos. He rallied the neighbors and drove them out. He used to tell me, "Some fights choose you. When they do, you finish them." When I returned, I found a new development surrounding my land, lakeshore estates. Large homes, small lots, big HOA fees. My property sat alone on a peninsula, untouched. That's when Priscilla Whitmore arrived. White SUV, white outfit, clipboard in hand. She introduced herself as HOA president and announced that my property needed to be brought into compliance with community standards. I told her calmly, "My property is not part of your HOA. Never has been." Her smile faded. After that, the pressure began. I camped on my own beach to honor my grandfather. That night, police were called again. Then came violation notices, threats of fines, claims of illegal camping. 3 days later, I received a certified letter ordering me to attend an emergency HOA meeting. At the meeting, Priscilla presented a slideshow filled with photos of my cabin, my dock, my tent, taken without my knowledge. Then she introduced her husband, a county zoning official. They demanded back HOA fees and future dues. That's when I stood up. I laid my deed and survey maps on the table and explained that my property predated the HOA by 40 years. The room went silent. I asked the room a simple question. How many of you have been paying fees without verifying legal authority? People began to speak up. Unexplained charges. Fees for projects that never happened. Priscilla lost control of the meeting and stormed out. She had made a critical mistake. The harassment intensified. County inspections, septic violations, electrical complaints. Everything that had been legal for 70 years was suddenly a problem. One inspector accidentally revealed the truth. Mrs. Whitmore personally flagged this property. Now I knew this was targeted. As an engineer, I knew how systems fail. If someone attacks your infrastructure, you examine theirs. I began requesting environmental records. What I found was explosive. Lakeshore estates had violated multiple federal wetlands protection laws. Illegal shoreline changes, filled wetlands, fraudulent permits. These weren't small issues. They triggered federal jurisdiction. I filed Freedom of Information Act requests for county and HOA communications. The emails were devastating. Coordination between HOA leadership and county officials. Fast-track approvals. Targeted inspections. This wasn't mismanagement. It was corruption. An elderly neighbor named Dorothy invited me for coffee. She showed me files. Families forced out after decades. Harassment until they sold below market value. Properties flipped to developers. Veterans. Elderly couples. Single mothers. This was systematic. A forensic accountant reviewed the HOA finances. Reserve funds had been looted. Consulting fees paid to shell companies. One company led directly to Priscilla's brother-in-law. Money laundering. I contacted federal investigators. After reviewing the evidence, an FBI agent said one sentence: "This is a RICO case." A full federal investigation began. I played the role of a defeated man. I let it spread that legal fees were crushing me and I was ready to surrender. That's when Priscilla made her move. At a private dinner with a developer, Priscilla offered me $200,000 for my land, less than half its value. During that meeting, they openly admitted to removing 12 families through coordinated harassment. Every word was recorded. They scheduled a public signing ceremony at the courthouse. Media was invited. Champagne prepared. They believed they had won. They were wrong. Just before signing, I addressed the cameras. I revealed the evidence, played the recordings. FBI agents stepped forward. Arrests were made on live television. Priscilla received 8 years in federal prison. Her husband received 6 and a lifetime ban from public office. The developer paid millions in fines. Assets were seized. Families received restitution. Illegal development was shut down. Wetlands were restored. A transparent neighborhood association replaced the corrupt HOA. Property values increased. Today, I sit on my grandfather's dock at sunrise. Sometimes I still camp on the beach. I remember his words. Some fights choose you. This one did, and I finished it.